welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. And guys, I can see you like not on a computer monitor.
Hey!
Do I look the same?
You
or
do.
do I look different? Could you imagine a completely different looking person?
Well,
I can't see what your background is.
Yeah, I was about to say the background is very different this time.
it's a pick your own adventure on that background for everybody.
But yeah, we are here at Creature Feature Weekend. Appropriately enough, it's like a Fright Night reunion this year.
Yeah.
And we are here to talk about Fright Night.
I'm very excited. Prior to this, we're recording this prior to me doing the panel tomorrow, which is I'm excited to sort of get like a refresher and some like chat about with friends before just like taking the stage, you know?
Yeah.
Because this movie absolutely fucking rips, and you know we got the last time we talked about it in any real capacity was Fright Night Part 2, just sort of in reference, in reference and peripheral. But like revisiting this it's so good, like from top to bottom.
I'll tell you, as the person whose job it is to summarize what happens, I had to write a lot because there's a lot of important plot beats in this particular movie. So here we go. Here's my best attempt at it. Charlie Brewster is a high school senior who loves the late-night horror show Fright Night, hosted by the fictional vampire hunter Peter Vincent. He's also apparently terrified to fuck his girlfriend, Amy.
It's a real Troll 2.
That is my first question tomorrow.
Yeah. Charlie is convinced his new neighbor, Jerry, is a vampire responsible for various disappearances in his town, but he's unable to convince Amy, his mother, or his friend Evil Ed that any of this is real. Charlie involves a police detective, but when they arrive at the house, Jerry's housemate Billy informs them that Jerry is away on a business trip, and the detective leaves convinced that Charlie is just playing an elaborate prank. Charlie comes home to find Jerry in his house, having been invited in by his mother, and given an ultimatum.
Idiot.
Charlie either needs to ignore everything he's seen, or he's going to die. Charlie refuses and stabs Jerry with a pencil in the hand. The next day, Charlie reaches out to Peter Vincent for help, but Peter is dismissive and considers him a crazy fan. However, Amy hires Peter to play part in an elaborate scheme to save Charlie's sanity, but in doing so, Peter realizes Jerry's lack of reflection and flees in fear, realizing that Charlie is in fact not crazy. Jerry hunts down Ed and turns him into a vampire and attempts to attack Peter, who wards him off with a crucifix to the face.
Great moment.
Meanwhile, Jerry chases Charlie and Amy to a nightclub where he successfully hypnotizes and kidnaps Amy, who reminds him of his lost love.
Sexy moment.
Charlie convinces a frightened Peter to help him, and they arrive at Jerry's house where Charlie takes on Billy, and Peter runs to Charlie's house for help, only to be attacked by Evil Ed in a wolf form. He's still able to stake Ed in the heart, leading to a dope makeup half-man, half-wolf effect. Mm-hmm. Jerry locks Charlie in a room with Amy, who is slowly transforming into a vampire. Peter arrives and promises Amy will be safe as long as they kill Jerry before dawn. Billy is revealed to be undead and melts to goo after being shot multiple times and stabbed in the heart. Then I wrote this note here. Charlie and Peter spend an intense amount of time just watching things happen instead of chasing down Jerry.
It's fucking true.
Yeah.
As the sun rises, Jerry turns into a bat and attacks Charlie and Peter before rushing to his coffin in the basement to hide. Amy shows up almost fully vampired out to attack Charlie, but he's able to break the blackout windows in the basement, letting the sunlight in to kill Jerry. Many nights later, Peter announces a format change to Fright Night from vampires to aliens, while Charlie and Amy watch. As Charlie goes to turn off the lights, he sees glowing eyes in Jerry's house, but chooses to ignore them. When he turns off his own lights, it is revealed that Evil Ed has taken up shop in Jerry's house.
Oh man,
that was actually a really good. You know what's so funny is that when we're together, we get a lot better. We're not just trying to like make jokes while one of us is trying to give the plot synopsis.
We're also not trying to fight lag.
Yeah, that's
that's very true. That's why we should just, why don't we just room together?
Let's just do it.
Get an apartment together.
Yeah.
Let's get a weekend in Gettysburg. We'll knock out the whole year. and nothing's irrelevant, and everything will be fine.
So that's the great part about having an evergreen podcast.
Yes.
So here's the big thing that I thought when I was watching this movie, and this is in no way a complaint about Fright Night, which is a great movie, and I'm not going to pretend it's not a great movie. But watching this original just made me further appreciate how good the remake of this movie is, because in some of the cases, it's like, I think I like McLovin's take on Evil Ed better than the 1985 Evil Ed.
Mintz plays Evil Ed in the remake. I've never seen the remake.
Yeah. Oh my God, the remake is really good.
I've heard so many people.
Was that you and me? Or
you
was
really
that,
championed.
That was us
Brian?
and Brian.
Brian was on with us.
Y'all really championed it, but I've heard it echoed throughout that. I've heard both parts. Both remakes and both parts are pretty solid.
Yeah, it's a really good one, and then also like Colin Farrell as Jerry is a great casting.
Yeah,
like I think
cool.
all of the casting works in that movie, and in some cases works better, and not always. Like I love David Tennant, but he's a very fun take on Peter Vincent. I will always prefer this version of Peter Vincent.
I get what you're saying, but my thought is that you couldn't do this movie.
You couldn't do this in 2011.
Yeah.
Unless it was Joe Bob Brady. It's just a racist redneck that he loves watching at night.
and if they did that would be awful. Can you imagine how fucking... Joe Bob fans don't come for me, but like, dude can't act, you know? And Peter Tennant is awesome.
Yeah.
And David Tennant. He's Peter Vincent, but he's David Tennant. Sorry. But he's doing a Chris Angel.
Yes. To perfection.
And that's
and it's so perfect because, as Matt said in our discussion of it, so Kyle, you're the uninitiated here.
Yeah.
The change in the Fright Night remake is that they live in Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, right on.
And so and Matt has said before that it's a genius turn because the plot makes so much more sense. Like, that's the place where no one would ever guess that you're a vampire.
Yeah.
Also, people go missing all the time.
Right.
You can live your life at night. And
really interesting.
It was a really, really good call. It's like right up there with a 30 Days of Night. Like, how did no one else think that Vegas is the perfect place for a vampire to lay low?
Oh man, and vampire stuff, you know that my feelings are mixed about vampire stuff, you know? So like,
I think that vampires are almost as polarizing as werewolves.
Yes. Yeah.
As far as movie monsters go,
Big
because
time.
like there are so many movies about both of those tropes, right? And they're so tired.
Yeah.
There's only so many.
Right.
There's only so many things you can do with it, and this is like one of the things I'll give a compliment to Fright Night. I am definitely a bigger fan of the movie experience of watching Lost Boys, but I think that the things that they do with vampires in Fright Night is infinitely more interesting.
Yeah.
Lost Boys is very much just they're teenagers that have fangs, and that's like the end of it. This, like, the way that the bats look, the way that like Evil Ed's half wolf, half person, like the effects in Fright Night are dramatically more visually interesting to look at.
Well, it's just crazy too. Like, so I didn't realize that this was Tom Holland's directorial debut.
Yeah,
too.
Is that so weird?
That is crazy. I know, because
debut?
we just talked about Reanimator a few weeks ago now, and that being Stuart Gordon's directorial debut. And it's like, besides that last part that you had mentioned where they just kind of watch things happen, there is not a minute that is left sort of unused and unimportant to this. And I do feel like that is something that Holland does a little bit further down the road too.
To be fair, they're standing and watching something that we, the audience, want to see happen to its completion.
Yes, right. Yeah. Oh,
it's
100%.
just like, I don't understand why we have to be with those characters. Those characters could run off to try to save Amy while we just enjoy the effects of the melting man ourselves.
It's true. And also, I feel like a lot of that happened in Fright Night Part 2, where we see Peter and Charlie kind of just watch shit happen.
Can I throw a crazy pitch to you?
Of course.
When I was watching this, I had the best idea for what they should have done for Fright Night 2 that could have led to a bunch of franchises is, since at the end of this movie, Peter Vincent's like, we're done doing vampires and we're doing aliens, Fright Night Part 2 should have been an alien movie.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And it should have been that every time he changes the format to Fright Night, that thing happens in real life and Charlie and him have to fight that now.
I mean, that's awesome.
Because Fright Night doesn't really scream,
the crazy
this
horror
is definitely
buddy
a
cop
vampire movie.
Very
You know what I mean?
True. Yeah. Now, you at first glance, I'm like, I don't want to see Peter Vincent in an alien movie because I just don't love alien movies. But like, if you basically have it be like the third one is werewolves, the fourth one is
like they just keep
fucking ghosts.
he can't get away from it.
Yeah. It's basically like he is
That's fun.
There's like he's cursed.
Yeah.
So that is such a genius idea for a franchise. I feel like that would be like you get a different director every time.
Yeah, just have so much fun with it.
That would be so fun.
Yeah, that's really it's a fun horror buddy cop situation that I think could be like great.
It's such a good idea that I'm mad that Matt said it because now I'm cursed.
There's
the
nothing we
knowledge
can do about this.
No one's gonna greenlight us to get the fucking rights for Fright Night to do a second remake, and then create an entire franchise. So like basically, this is useless knowledge.
Yeah, this is the only way that we can do anything about this. Is
or
build
it's
a
a
time
decade-long
machine,
project.
build a time machine, go to 1987, and get in Tommy Lee Wallace's ear and be like, "Hey,
man,
vampires have been done, buddy."
Yeah.
I mean, the downside is then we miss out on how much fun Fright Night Part 2 genuinely is.
Yeah,
But
we would have had a really cool alien Fright Night.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So, like, let's kind of focus on a few bits here because this is one of those weird ones for us to talk about because it's a pretty flawless, great movie. B, it's a movie that's been talked about a billion times.
Yeah.
But, like, are there any moments that we forgot about and we're, like, reminded how much we loved this watch around, or moments that we're like, man, I hate this scene?
I think, for me, it was just more of this, like, Charlie's heightened POV of this vampire. There's this beautiful shot, and I rewound it like 3 times, but it's this beautiful shot where he sees Jerry, right?
Yeah.
Through the window, and it's it's a push through to him, but the curtains below. So like you're zooming in on him, but you're in the same frame of reference. It's almost like this weird DIY Vertigo shot. And I just like, but then it's like also the dance scene and watching him watch Jerry seduce Amy, in this nightclub, and it's it's taking the things that you are to know about vampires, the being let in, the seduction, like all of these things, and it's giving him this really awesome heightened moment that I'm forgetting it's a vampire movie briefly, and then just being like, oh yes, like that is what the vampire does. Like, yes, your mom invited him in because he's your neighbor, and like, oh, this seduction is not like a I want to suck your blood like thing. That it's a dance, it's an 80s like dance scene, and it's sexy, and it's like, and then hearing Chris Sarandon like sound like Jack Skellington just every once in a while was just like.
Well, what I also like about Fright Night is like it is a vampire movie, but it does have a little bit of werewolf in it because we do the like, hey, vampires can turn into bats and wolves thing, and we have a little bit of fun with that. We have this like, it's listed on Wikipedia as undead roommate, but like we have this character that is by all intents and purposes a like living dead that if staked falls apart and like decomposes. Like it's like you get to play with other cool horror tropes, which I think is why this movie gets such a big edge over a lot of the other vampire movies of the 80s. Like I love Near Dark, but Near Dark is it's just vampires and it's long and it's kind of dreary
very
at
dark.
times.
I mean, but it's very moody, and this is like very up.
This is very up.
Totally.
This is like everything that it's great that it's called Fright Night because it lives up to what a late night horror show should be showing you.
Totally.
Like, I think that is one of the really cool elements of this movie is in that world of like, oh, we're going to watch a late night horror movie show. We're going to watch Joe Bob. We're going to watch like Monster Vision. We're going to watch Elvira. Like these are the types of movies, those like bombastic, throwing everything at the wall, gore fests. And it's so like in the know of that like this character is hosting a late night talk show that would air the exact type of circumstances that he's currently being put into the circumstance. Like it is really, really cool. And it gives that element of like, it's not serious in quotes, but like the stakes are legitimately high if you are Charlie. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And it's like they kill his best friend. Well, this time watching, I'm like, is Evil Ed even really his friend, or is he just a dude who knows this stuff?
Yeah, that's what it always feels like when going back to your question about like, were there any parts of this movie that you watching it this time, you're like, it's always been for me anything in the school.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I actually don't like Evil Ed's character at all.
No.
And he's a much more likable character in the remake.
Well, because the remake gives him more of a reason to hate Charlie. Because the storyline for Kyle, and for anyone who hasn't seen the remake, in the remake, the story is Charlie and Eddie grew up as like best buds, And then Charlie started dating Amy, which made him popular, and that made him stop hanging out with Ed.
Sure.
So Ed's like, fuck you. Like, you abandoned me. Now I'm getting bullied by myself, by the people that you call friends. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, fuck all the way off.
Yeah.
Versus, like, Evil Ed's just some, like, weird horror dude hanging out in the corner.
Right. It seems like they have some familiarity, but they are not necessarily
It's
friends.
a big
and
enough
like
school that they're like they know each other,
Yeah.
but they're not tight.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It definitely felt like that. And I would always thought that they were friends just in my sort of like vague recollection of the movie or just,
But it doesn't feel like they
does
actually
not
are.
feel like they're
Kyle,
friends
you got to
at all.
ask them at that panel.
I'm going,
Do you
yeah.
guys think that you two were actually friends or just acquaintances?
Yeah,
at
I think
the
that's
school?
I think that's valid. I'm gonna see if Stephen will be able to talk during this makeup application. He might just be up on
He's
stage
gonna be like,
getting
Yeah. Well, if I know anything
Breathing
from
through a
past
straw.
makeup applications, they usually do the mouth part last so that they can talk.
Oh, okay, got
Yeah.
it. Got
So
it.
but I would start with questions to Steven as much as possible and
Yeah.
then move it to
Yeah.
the rest.
Yeah.
And just tell them that, hey, since Steven's going to be unable to
Under-
talk for a large
under the
chunk
knife.
of this, let's start there. I mean, Steven, that actor, talk about like a crazy run for the first like 3 years of his acting career of like
kidding.
Fright Night, 967 Evil. One of my dad's all-time favorite movies, Heaven Help Us. Which
Oh,
is
really?
Like,
He's in Heaven Help Us?
It's like a Catholic schoolboy comedy.
Yeah.
And his
I can
character,
see the cover art.
and his character is
Never
like
watched it.
addicted to masturbating. Like,
Nice.
like
That
that's
dude,
like
he's-
Sounds
if
like
he's-
your dad's favorite movie
oh,
right
my
there.
God. It's literally it's Porky's in a Catholic school in the 50s. Like that's like
Wow.
all of those Venn diagrams crossing each other. It's a fun
He
movie.
looks like a chronic masturbator. and
That's what I mean. In this movie,
you
he's
talking about his
like-
dad?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
sorry.
How
sorry,
dare
Mr. Kelly.
you?
From
Trust
the
me,
first
he does
time I laid
not
eyes
know how
on
to
you.
listen to this.
I think my mom would be more likely to
Yeah.
hear this episode than Matt's fucking dad.
Well, wait
boy.
till you hear what I have to say about her.
No, no. She's a saint.
She's a saint.
Also, Heaven Help Us is her favorite movie too.
Yeah, how dare
Chronic
you.
masturbators, all of our parents.
All
All of
around.
We're making an ad.
Napping
Yeah.
ad.
This is where I think if we're doing it right, Alec Baldwin comes in. He says a couple things. He listens to the podcast every week. Has he been canceled? Wait, is Alec Baldwin the one who killed somebody? I hear that Gary Sinise is free.
Oh, okay, great.
He hasn't worked since 2020.
So, what would be the script that we would have Gary Sinise say for the Napping Through Happy Hour podcast?
Listen to this damn show. Damn it.
The Napping Through Happy Hour podcast brought to you by Geekscape.
Real life, real drama, real time.
I'm Gary Sinise.
That's the
That's
ad.
the ad.
That's the ad. That's the ad.
I don't think we have much more to add to this movie. You've seen this movie, everybody. You know it's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the obvious thing off the board since it was my pick for this one. And my double feature is going to be Monster Squad. Just
Great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going through because I was having a hard time. I felt like there was a lot of picks and there was also like a lot of stuff that I like wouldn't necessarily want to watch again, but I kind of want to watch, and this was recommended on IMDb, so I'll give it a quick shout out and also tell you I'm cheating. But The Howling was recommended, and I kind of fucking want to watch The Howling again. It does enough of a turn on the head of like a werewolf.
Be disappointed.
You think so?
I
When was the
like
last
The
time you
Howling.
watched The Howling?
I
like
haven't seen it in a long.
Listen,
It's been a long time.
I'll defend you on this, Kyle, because A, I like The Howling,
Yeah.
and B, I do think that
Maybe I'll give it a
the
rewatch.
giant crazy wolf transformation does have a similar feel to Evil Eddie's werewolf creature.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. What
Yeah,
I'm
you're
saying
saying
with
is that it's a
Howling
boring
is that it's a
movie.
boring fucking
And
movie.
I'm saying
Yeah.
that
until
I
the
don't
last
think
5
it is.
minutes.
Yeah.
I love The Howling.
Yeah. No,
It's also so much more. It's so much less entertaining in context of how fucking
I mean,
ridiculous Howling 2 is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no, and that's fair.
one of these
maybe
days-
Howling 2 is actually a more appropriate double
I feel like
feature,
Howling 2 would be
but,
more appropriate from
yeah.
like an enjoyment
fun-
standpoint.
enjoyment standpoint,
but
for
like
sure.
I get why
Yeah.
for both of you it
Yeah.
fits.
Yeah.
One
you
of
know?
these days, I want to.
Why Howling 1 fits. Sorry.
I'll have to rewatch it to see if it's even worth our time. But I'm curious about revisiting Howling 4, which I believe is Howling 4: The Original Nightmare.
Yes.
Which is an attempt at remaking the first Howling.
Is that where they're in the castle?
No, that's not the one in Castle. They're trying to. It's called The Original Nightmare because they literally went back to the original Howling book source material to try to be
Oh.
more faithful to the book.
Oh.
But the biggest thing I remember is that it had one of my favorite Howling covers. Like if you look at the VHS box art, it's just a big wolf, like a wolf with its mouth open, just like, hey guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Is it the 4 is like in red Roman numerals and it's like peeking through?
Yeah.
I feel like that's.
Listen, Howling 4 and 5, awesome box art, mediocre movies.
We've done about 3 or 4 of them on this show, right?
We've done.
Oh, that one. I
yeah.
recognize that cover.
We've done 2, 3, 6, The Freaks, and
7
8
or
was
8. Yeah.
and 8
was the
So-
west
yeah.
was the western
That was
one?
the Western
yeah,
one.
3 was the marsupials, right?
Yeah, which is the
Marsupials
best one.
2,
Marsupials
3,
rules. I love that
6,
movie.
8, right?
Yeah. So we still have 4, 5,
5 is
and
the one
7.
that's in the
castle.
castle. Yeah. I've never watched 4, 5 or 7. I think
7.
Yeah, I don't think I
because
have
they
either.
all suck.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
there's
all
no
honestly, the
bad
Howling
movies.
has
I'm
one
not
of,
seeking
has
them
the
out.
worst fucking.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Here's a question for you guys. Well, before I want to ask you guys this question, and then I'll tell you what my double feature is. My question is worst run for a horror franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily worst ever, but like of these two, which ones do you think are worse?
Mm-hmm.
Howling or Tremors?
Oh.
Which one would you be more likely to watch 1 to 9 or whatever, or 8?
So here, man, I'm going to go with, I think that Tremors will be a less frustrating ride. Like, I think that the Tremors movies are probably very repetitive and kind of dull.
Yeah.
But, like, I know for a fact that, like, part 6, The Freaks, and the one in the castle are like, those are like
8
80
was so much worse. Or
8 is really bad. Like, that's what I mean. There's
the Outlaw one was
Yeah.
the fucking worst movie we've watched in a long time.
movies-
Did you pick that shit?
No, that was a listener submitted
submitted.
one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But there are movies in the Howling franchise that even if it's a 70-minute movie, it feels like you're watching 3 hours of a movie.
Yeah.
So I think that watching all of the Howling movies is way more punishing than watching the Tremors movies.
See, but for the same reasons that you sort of explained why you would watch the Tremors movies is why I'm going to watch the Howling movies.
Yeah, I was about to
I'm
say
like-
Howling has. So I think what we're talking about is Tremors is very baseline, right?
yeah, it's
and
just-
then
it's
the
even
Howling
the
has a
whole way
lot of
through.
peaks and valleys,
Yeah.
but those peaks make it almost. I'm not trying to argue.
I'm going to say that the Howling has 2 peaks early on and then a lot of valleys.
Although we've done way more episodes of Horror Movie Night about the Howling than we have.
Well, because after Tremors 2, which we haven't done yet, like, I don't want to watch the other Tremors.
I have no
Yeah.
desire.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I want to watch Tremors 2 because I have somewhat fond memories of watching Tremors 2 as a kid, and then I'm good.
I've
Yeah.
never seen anything except for the original Tremors.
I don't-
Tremors 2
so-
is fun.
I'm not even
going
sure
to
I've
look
seen it.
at. Honestly, when Matt says, "This is for the listeners," when Matt says, "Oh, that movie's kind of fun," I know for a fact that I don't need to watch it on my own time.
Yeah.
I can watch it on HMN time.
Well,
Yeah,
so the
that's right.
problem
Eventually.
Here's the
Eventually.
thing: Tremors 2 introduces a
820.
really cool concept that then became, I think, the entire Tremors franchise, which is Tremors 2 is like, hey, these creatures could evolve, and they evolve into things that walk on the ground.
yeah.
And
And
I
then there's
think
the flying
every
ones and the-
sequel,
yeah.
every sequel is
There's
just like, let's just
flying
keep them
ones?
evolving all the
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't.
Oh, there's a one that's in the Old West. There's a time period jump
there's a whole
backwards.
period
like,
piece on
I mean,
Tremors.
maybe we.
Matt
you know,
might be selling me on. The
I was going to say,
Tremors
you know who
franchise now.
who we may need to ask right here at this convention. I am almost confident that Camp Nightmare has watched all of the Tremors movies, so we can ask them. We can ask them
They
which.
watched them sober.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
they have been just downing bags and bags of Doritos while they watch them. So they are unreliable narrators. I
They're
don't believe
unreliable,
a
but they
goddamn
might be
thing.
able to tell us which ones are worth our time.
All right.
Scott, we're still waiting on your double feature, though.
I that was an
Besides the
important
Tremors
tangent,
franchise.
an absolutely important tangent. I'm gonna go with Kyle. Get ready to update our list on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Add another one. Add another
I
tick
should be writing
by
these
Waxwork. Welcome to the Waxwork, because you get
it all, baby.
vampires and werewolves in that. You get vampires and werewolves in Fright Night. I mean, and honestly, the vampires and werewolves. I mean, and that's why Monster Squad works too. But I gotta say that I think that with Monster Squad and Waxwork, those are two of the best, like, presentations of those monsters without being strictly like those monsters. It's a weird cross section.
I'm going to ask a really crazy question, and I know that I am like Mr. 90s, and I am also like the last person who's like, oh, everything new sucks. Like, I've enjoyed quite a few new horror movies. I'm not saying it like this, but my question is, when I feel like if I think of the entire 90s, all of the 2000s and beyond, I am hard pressed for any moment where I'm like, now that's a really interesting werewolf or vampire design. Like, I feel like all of the most interesting designs happened in the 80s for both of those creatures.
It's practical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I will argue that there are still good vampire presentations being put out. I think that Boys from County Hell was a super interesting presentation. I don't know if you watched that one.
I haven't, but
I think it's an Irish horror movie, and I think that what was that called? That one. It was like they found it was in World War II, and it's they're on a ship. They're on a Nazi ship.
Oh, the last
Voyage of Demeter.
No, not the last Voyage of the Demeter. I did not see that yet. It's called Blood Vessel. Oh, Blood Vessel. That was super fun. So I think that there are still some cool vampire movies happening because like you can really do like the gore, like people getting their throats ripped out. And 30 Days of Night, you literally just mentioned that. But also that was like probably 18 years ago.
I think we're talking about different things. I think that there have been good werewolf and vampire movies.
Oh, you
I'm
mean
talking
what
about
they look
the actual physical appearance of the vampires and werewolves.
Dog Soldiers.
Dog
is
Soldiers
probably the
is
last good
really
physical. I mean, and then you have like weird characters. Like Black Sheep was kind of a fun movie.
Yeah. I just think like when I think of the 80s,
Wolf Cop was fun as fuck, and it looks great.
When I think of like the 80s, I'm like, man, they were really just like taking crazy swings on what a werewolf or a vampire could look like.
I think that they're also taking more swings.
Yeah,
that's the bigger issue.
That's the bigger because I feel like now it's like if you're making a werewolf movie, it's going to look like the same types of werewolves that we've seen a million.
You're probably only going to be able to afford to do one werewolf unless you're doing Wolfman, like for Blumhouse or whatever. And then I don't even think that I didn't see it. So
I haven't seen it.
But it's also
really
it's going to be a classic traditional
exactly.
Werewolf. That's what I
it's
mean.
rooted
it's
in.
not fun.
I feel like the last that's a unique look for a werewolf is like Ginger Snaps, where it's like this hunched over practical.
Listeners, if we're missing something, please let us know.
Let us know. My point being that I just feel like now
I think you're right.
I feel like the last 25 to 30 years we've kind of just seen the exact same types of vampires and werewolves every movie. Where
the Vortilac was a really cool
I cannot wait to watch that.
Vampire
puppet
because it's a wooden human-sized wooden puppet.
That
now
shit.
I mean like and it's not just in a couple scenes. It is in that movie. It was a very weird week when I watched that and Humanist Vampire back to back. It was very, very interesting. So so on to Matt, do we have anything that we want to pimp out?
We always want to pimp out some things, and those things are, of course, our website, hmnpodcast.com, our Patreon, patreon.com/HMN Podcast, HMNpodcast.dasherly.com.
Dashery is spelled Dashery, just FYI.
Of course. And all of our socials, HMN Podcast, all that good jazz. Our TikTok is popping again. Our letterbox is doing well. Just if you type in HMN Podcast on whatever website you're on, you'll find us.
We are on Pornhub.
Pornhub, we're there. Dear God. I have something written down that I typed a week or so ago about what I was going to do for What Am I Watching, and I'm going to skip over it. I don't care. I watched Anora that dropped, and it won Best Picture, and it's just really good. I don't have much else to say. It's just a good, weird, modern, pretty woman, I guess is like the best way to describe it. It's a kid from Russia is in America and falls in love with a stripper and pays her to be his girlfriend for the week that he's in America, and falls in love and marries her in Vegas, only to find out that he's the son of a Russian mob leader. And then it's like the Russian mob comes to try to break them up, but what they're not prepared for is like homegirl has been a sex worker her whole life and is more than equipped to stand up to a bunch of tough guys. So like
even to him when he just buckles.
It kind of like takes on this very in a film where there are so many opportunities for it to get really dark and fucked up. It's always lighthearted because she is so strong-willed throughout the entire movie.
Right.
So like you've got these two giant Russian mobsters like pointing guns at her, and she's like, "You put those fucking guns!" Like she's like
really
this
good.
little tiny 22-year-old. Like, you're not gonna fucking scare me.
Yeah.
I've been in a strip club for the last 6 years of my life. There's nothing you can do to me that I haven't had to face already. Like it's a really well constructed. I get why it won Best Picture, and good for Sean Baker. This one's also going out to Brian. Sean Baker's like one of Brian's favorite filmmakers, so he was excited that his boy was like cleaning it up at the Oscars, and it's good. It's just a good movie. Go watch it. It's on Hulu.
It's my sort of silly way to connect to Sean Baker is that when we put out Survival of the Film Freaks, he followed us on Twitter, and
because he's like a huge horror nerd.
He's a huge horror nerd. He's a huge poster guy. Like he is like he's just a cinephile.
They literally were talking about that on Colors in the Dark.
Yeah,
because they were like, this was a great year for horror because The Substance won for makeup, and Sean Baker, one of the biggest horror nerds in the world, like crushed.
Yeah, totally crushed. And I just remember being like, sending him a DM and be like, "Hey man, big fan." He was like, "When can I see the movie?" And I'm like, "Oh, it was out, but it wasn't out in Canada where he was." So then I was like, "Well, all right." So I found that when he won the Oscar, and I was like, I'm just gonna message him congratulations from this account. I did not, but I just he is such a big proponent of film.
He loves film. He loves physical media.
Don't ask unions; they would not agree with that. But that's everybody's got a side for sure.
But that's my big thing. Go watch it.
It's great.
It's one of the better Best Picture wins in a long time. Where I'm like, oh no, this is a movie I'll watch a couple times.
Yeah.
Like usually I watch the Best Picture winner out of curiosity and go, okay, I can see why that won, and then I immediately brain dump the existence of the movie out of my head after that.
Yeah. I saw The Rule of Jenny Penn. Which I saw in theater. It was in a theater, and my mother actually was like, "Hey, I really want to see this," and I was like, "Oh yeah," and she does not. I mean, she likes movies. She used to be an actor. Really loves movies, but she is also.
I don't think I ever knew that your mom used to be an actor.
Yeah, I mean, it was before I was born, and I was born. She was really young, and I think that she ended up kind of phasing out a lot of porn. She ended up phasing out.
Two chronic masturbators and the woman they love.
Yeah. Oh my God! Don't let your dad and my mom meet. Anyway, she never asked to go see movies. She works a lot. Her downtime is like her downtime, and so she'd rather just be at home. But she was like, I want to see this. She really likes John Lithgow. She really likes Jeffrey Rush, and she was like, you're the only person I can see it with because like you won't mind if I just grab your arm and like am freaked out because she also can't watch horror movies. Yeah. She is like I've seen her like levitate up from the couch if we're watching a horror movie, like, because I used to just make her watch shit, or she would. That's how we would spend time. Was like, oh, sorry, mom, you're gonna watch a horror movie with us, and and she would freak out. It was amazing, but it's not that type of horror movie, and I don't think that she was really aware of the type of energy that something like this was going to bring, and I think that it's Shudder released, it's out in theaters. It's a New Zealand film with really excellent, and what she would say. I don't consider them as bizarre of performances or of a concept. However, my mom, not being privy to maybe what's going on horror-wise now, would not expect that. So she was like, "It's really bizarre, and it's like all these things." And admittedly, it is, but it's quite good. The performances from Lithgow and Rush are really excellent, as well as some of the other cast members whose names escape me. Obviously, those are the two big names. But it's really worth watching. It's not, there's a doll in there. It's not supernatural, really, unless you're talking about dealing with people aging out of their reality sometimes. Like that is a factor, because we are in this nursing home, and there's that factor involved. But it's not a supernatural movie. It's more about control and like how long somebody's been in a place, and like a little bit of like sort of turf war, but putting that upon old people, about people who are aging out of life, out of their bodies and their abilities, and going from there. Really worth checking out. But also don't give yourself too much. There's a couple like loose ends, and it's, there were some things that were annoying to me, but it's certainly worth the watch. I've been thinking about it a lot. No.
Yeah, it's always funny to have a movie like that where you're like, I liked it, I have feelings about it, and then the feelings persist.
Yeah.
I mean, it just reminds me of like when I was probably in like junior high and early high school, when I would see a movie and I guess that it's like when you're younger in particular, and your worldview is growing, like things resonate with you in odd ways that maybe would not resonate with us as adults.
Yeah.
And so it's always like, I'm thinking back to like the weirdest shit, like Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Sure.
That movie really fucked my brain up.
Yeah.
The time I watched it when I was probably like, I was maybe 13.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Because I bet that if I watched it now, I'd just be like, okay, that was a crime thriller.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
It's very interesting.
There's something that somebody does and approaches differently that's just enough outside of the box, or just enough that's like different. And even if it's like, I don't know, I'm going to watch it again. I don't know if it'll probably make my list this year because I really did like it, but it's different. It was, it was cool seeing it with my mom, you know, like, and seeing her reaction to it. And then we talked to somebody in the parking lot after, which just doesn't happen, at least in my town, that doesn't happen anymore, you know, and I appreciated that. At least not in, you know, my neck of the woods. It doesn't really happen. People go see the movie and they leave, and then it's just fucking
I don't know if I've ever had a conversation with a stranger after a movie, even like a movie that it's highly like anticipated. You know? That's interesting.
It was interesting. I appreciated that moment. And it was like a Tuesday. It was like a Wednesday or Tuesday night.
Oh, those are the best.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Dude, don't ever go see a fucking movie on Friday night. That sucks.
No.
Sucks so bad.
The only time I can suggest a movie on a Friday night is the one time that it helped a movie, which is if you are just like, I'm going to go see a movie, and you're going to see a really dumb PG-13 teen horror movie, your enjoyment will be made better by being in the theater with the teenagers that are like enjoying
that are
the movie.
Actual audience.
That are the actual audience. Yeah. That is the only time that it is a good idea in your 30s or 40s to see a movie on a Friday night. Yeah. Because I said before, like, Truth or Dare, bullshit bad movie, but man, watching that in a theater filled with kids who were hooked to every second of it made me at least appreciate it a little bit.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting there like, this is so fucking stupid, but then I'm hearing them like scream at every jump scare. Like,
you're putting this thought in my head that I'm like, man, I wish I would have watched Tarot in that, like.
That's kind of how I think you're
supposed
to. Listen, I watched half of Talk to Me today because that's on Netflix now, and like Talk to Me is good.
Yeah,
like Talk to Me is, of the modern teen horror movies, easily one of the best ones.
There were too many adults that thought that movie was great, though. That's what I'm gonna say. Is like, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Why are you into it so much?
But I was like, man, this movie in a packed theater where kids are screaming every time that one of these ghosts shows up. Fucking awesome time.
Yeah. That could be. Yeah, it's again very interesting. I feel like that's what being really jaded is.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes the crowd can help a movie, and sometimes the crowd can absolutely.
I'm guessing 9 times out of 10, it's worse.
Yeah,
but
it's the same with like if you see a comedy in a theater, everybody's laughing, and you're just kind of also laughing, and then you go to watch that movie by yourself, and you're like, this movie's really not that funny.
Yeah,
And how bad would it fucking suck to go to a movie theater and everybody's laughing their asses off, and you're like, you people are morons. Yeah. This isn't funny at all.
I had that happen at least one time. A controversial take. But it was when I went to see the 2016 Ghostbusters movie with like with Kristen Wiig in them. Yeah. I remember it was me and my friend Will went to see it when I was in LA, and the whole crowd was dying, and we just kept looking at each other like, these jokes aren't hitting for me at all.
Yeah.
Well,
I went in ready to love. I was like, yeah, this is going to be great. Yeah. Paul Feig's doing a Ghostbusters movie with all my favorite female actresses. Like, how could this go wrong? And I was just like, it went so wrong.
You know what's so sad about that is that, like, if they would have hit it out of the park, it would have been such a great, like, if it was basically Bridesmaids but Ghostbusters.
One of my favorite quotes, and I think about this quote all the time, but it was I forget who it was. It was a female comedian, and she said that the all-women Ghostbusters movie was the best thing for feminism because feminism means that they also get to make pieces of shit movies.
Yep. I can't argue that.
I'm like, that's a great take.
Yeah. We can't make that take.
Yeah. Why do white guys get to have the market on shitty movies?
Adam Sandler.
All right, Scott. How about you? Take us home.
Very interestingly, Megan and I needed something light to watch, and we were like, Megan was like, "Oh, let's watch a teen comedy from the '80s, something that we haven't seen before, or something that we haven't watched a bunch." And we were like, I was googling lists of like what to watch.
Did you watch Can't Buy Me Love?
No,
Okay.
we watched
trying to
that
make a
relatively
guess.
recently. No, you're not going to guess this.
Okay.
Because the couple that we were like, oh, this sounds cool, none of them were streaming for free, and we're not about to spend $4 on a fucking teen comedy from the 80s.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and so I would look on streaming, and I'd look on YouTube, and then last ditch effort, I would just like say whatever movie free, full movie free. Nothing was hitting, and then I had this stroke of, I wouldn't say genius, but I had this thought, and I was like, oh, Troop Beverly Hills.
Oh, you
And it
love
was-
that movie.
I have not watched that movie since I was probably 16 years old, and Megan was like, "Oh, I haven't watched that movie in so long," and so we found a copy on like the internet, like the
archive?
internet archive, and we watched it, and it was so fun, and Shelley Long is just so cute, and the costumes are sick. Like she does not wear the same thing twice, and the funniest thing is that it took us a couple days to finish it, but so we started watching it on whatever, like Saturday night or whatever. Megan got like a TikTok or an Instagram story or something literally the next day that said this on Troop Beverly Hills was released 1980, 36 years ago today.
Yeah.
It was literally, we had watched it the day before it debuted in theaters. So weird. What are the odds?
Love that.
Such a great movie. And it's so funny because Carla Gugino is in it. So it's got the singer from Rilo Kiley, Jenny Lewis. Yes. She's the daughter of Shelley Long. And then there are all these other girls that are in the troupe. And then Carla Gugino, and it's funny because every single time that they're standing, Carla Gugino is in the back because she's much taller than the rest of them. And I was like, Carla Gugino looks way too old to be in this brownie pack, like this Girl Scout pack, right? Googled it. She was like 17 or 19 doing this, and Jenny Lewis was like 15. It was so weird that I was like, why is Carla Gugino in this fucking movie? And they had to probably like bind her chest and stuff like that to make her look prepubescent.
That is one of the things I will give credit for the last couple years. Like when I watch, look, I love my 90s teen movies. Yeah. Right.
But they all look 26.
They all look 26. But when you watch like something like Blockers or Booksmart, like we've gotten a lot better at casting like age appropriate or like looking passable, like someone who's like maybe 22 playing an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
In a way where it's like, oh no, these look and feel like legitimate high school seniors in a way that like She's All That never could.
Are you trying to tell me that Peter Fasinelli does not look like an 18-year-old that just got out of high school? Ethan Embry with his like fucking widow's peaks. Like, yeah, that guy just graduated high school.
Oh my god,
Every
it's
damn
insane.
Time. Lot of teenagers with that actually around that era.
I did,
crazy.
I did see an ad recently. Side note for Can't Hardly Wait, the musical that's opening off Broadway. That can't be a good idea.
I don't know about that.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Unless it's a jukebox musical using all the songs that are in the movie Can't Hardly Wait, then I'll watch the shit out of that.
I feel like that's the only way you do it.
The whole cast is just like, can I graduate?
Get Bacon back on this show. He's gonna make the fucking Can't Hardly Wait musical.
Oh god damn. Well, guys, this was a blast, but we need to get down to our table here at Creature Feature
Sell
Weekend.
some shirts.
Woo!
Yeah.
Go and pick up some shirts, including the reuse, recycle, reanimate. Is that what it says? I can't
Reduce,
see.
reuse, recycle.
There we go.
Reduce, reuse, reanimate, or the Feminonomicon shirt, or Kyle. None of you can see this, but Kyle is wearing the Horror Movie Night horror green sticker.
A classic.
Shirt.
I love this shirt. I love this shirt, but I need to change out of it because I sweat all the way here from Connecticut.
Yeah,
I'm stinky boy.
That sounds right. All right. Well, we'll be back next week with more Horror Movie Night.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.